These are the 10 foods that I eat every single week to stay shredded all year round. And it feels easy because I don't cut carbs. I don't go to extremes in terms of being overly restrictive. And why I said it feels easy is because that's the most important thing. I can adhere to these 10 foods and to this way of eating, and it doesn't take over my life. I integrate this into my lifestyle. Not only am I going to just list the 10 foods, I'm going to break down the 5 nutrition methods that I want you to be really aware of that really works for me, because it goes deeper than just eating a bunch of foods. It's the behaviors. I can give you the 10 foods, but what works for me is not necessarily going to be, you're not going to be able to adhere to what I do necessarily, right? So the first point here, as I list the 10 foods, is obviously anchoring every meal in with protein. Now, most of these foods contain high protein, but people look at protein like it's a magical macronutrient, right? Now, it does have a lot of magic to it when you're having the essential amino acids that you literally die without. Of course, there's 8 amino acids that you need to get through diets because the body doesn't produce them, 8 out of the 20, such as leucine, which is the most important one for muscle protein synthesis, which is contained in some of these foods. But it's not like you have to just have protein. There's a lot more to it. You need to be having whole foods. You need to be getting nourishment and fueling your body so you can live longer, but also when it comes to getting shredded, so you're giving your body what it needs in terms of satiety, which is really, really important. So number 1 is grass-fed beef. If you're eating a lot of beef, the main protein source, the only meat that I eat, or the 90% of the meat that I eat is grass-fed beef. I alternate between beef mince and steak. I have extra lean and I also have normal beef mince. So you can get like an 80-20 beef mince, right? Which is like 80% protein and 20% fat, roughly. That's generally, give or take, it depends, but that's generally what it's going to be when you buy beef mince. It's going to be 80% protein roughly, and the rest, 80% protein and 20% fat. Now, I'll alternate between the two. I would say when I have ground beef, as you guys call it in America, or beef mince, I have probably about 70% of the beef mince that I eat, or ground beef, is normal beef mince, around about 80-20. The rest, the other 30%, so 70% is just normal beef mince. The other 30% is going to be extra lean. Extra lean, the one I get is super lean. It's 2% fat, like 98% protein. Some of them might be 5%, 7%. Bottom line, depending on how many calories you can get away with, obviously a deficit for me is still high calories for most. My deficit is most people's surplus, to be honest. My maintenance calories are around about 3,700 calories, which means if I eat 3,000 calories, I'm in a pretty big deficit, which means I can eat normal beef. I don't necessarily have to have the lean, but I like to mix it up because I notice that I stress my gut if I overdo fats. So the number 1 food is going to be grass-fed beef. As I say, 70% normal beef mince. About 70% of the time I have normal beef mince, which is about 80-20, and about 30% of the time I'll have extra lean beef mince because there's less calories, it's reduced fat, and it's around about 2% fat, the lean one that I get. Or I have steak. I also have steak, so I alternate between beef mince and steak. I have just normal rump steak. I get it for cheap, and it's grass-fed, grass-finished, good quality. Obviously, it's got quite a bit of fat on it, but the reason I don't just go lean is because you're missing out on most of the essential fats when you cut out the fat from the steaks. Now, to stay within your calories, yes, you can't always have the fats. You've got to mix it up. You've got to get lean cuts of protein in. But for me, for anyone, you're looking at CLAs, right, in the fat. You're looking at omega-3s, especially grass-fed, grass-finished. You're looking at stearic acid as well, and a bunch of other saturated fats, which I'm not going to list here, right? So that's a superfood. People look at beef and they think protein, and that's pretty much all they think, right? They think protein and maybe fat. But when I look at beef, I think protein, creatine, choline. That's the other fat I forgot to mention is carnitine. Okay, zinc, magnesium, B12, iron. What's the type? I forget the type of iron now. It's a specific type. Myelin, right? Iron. We can keep going down the list, right? We can go vitamin A. We can keep going, right? Not a great deal of vitamins. Minerals, like I say, I just named most of them then. So we got to look at the nourishment with beef, right? Over everything. That's in my top 5 foods I would say I recommend to clients. Next one is eggs. Obviously, an egg yolk is the perfect multivitamin. The same thing goes for eggs, right? When people look at eggs, they think protein, cholesterol. When I look at an egg, I look at the egg yolk, and that's a multivitamin, right? But also loads of minerals as well. I'm going to get zinc, going to get some magnesium, going to get a bit of omega-3. I'm going to get vitamin A as well. So you're going to get some of the vitamin, all of the vitamins. It's pretty much a perfect multivitamin, right? And cholesterol and choline, not to mention choline as well for brain health. One of the most important nutrients. This is why they recommend pregnant women eat egg yolks now, right? And whole eggs. So that's number two. And I love the taste of eggs as well, right? I love having my steak and eggs. I don't know if you don't enjoy that, there's something wrong with you, right? This is in no particular order, right? But sardines, now this is something I've been bringing in more frequently because when I last did the episode on 10 foods, my foods have changed slightly. They're pretty similar. But today, like I say, I'm going to go deep into the methods, not just the foods. So sardines, the reason I choose sardines over salmon is because sardines, most people don't like the taste. That's the only reason I don't really talk about them much. Most people enjoy eating salmon. If you get salmon, get wild, don't get farmed, of course. You definitely don't want to be doing that. But salmon's a predatory fish, whereas sardines is lower on the food chain, which means it's going to take, naturally, it's going to contain less toxins, right? Because it's lower on the food chain. But also, sardines is loaded with omega-3, a little bit more per gram than salmon. And also it contains iodine. Now, iodine is an essential nutrient that you have to get primarily from the ocean, essentially, right? So sardines contain a hit of iodine as well. They contain B12. They contain zinc. They contain lots of different... calcium's a big one as well with sardines, because when you're eating sardines out of the tin, if you get the tin, get the tins with the BPA-free lining, right? Because they sneak in that BPA, nasty type of plastic. We don't want to be consuming microplastics, although you're going to get some if you eat an ocean fish, right? Naturally, because of the ocean. But yeah, so you're getting calcium as well from the little bones that you get in sardines. So that's at the top for me as well. And I personally love the taste of sardines with the next one, which is avocado. Now, avocado keeps me shredded, not because of the calories, because it's quite calorie dense, because I enjoy eating it with my sardines or with my steak and eggs. Bit of salt. I really enjoy it, number one. But more, I'd say equally as important is obviously the nourishment you're going to get from an avocado is 80% fat, right? It's the only fruit where it's primarily fat and there's very little sugar in it. Also potassium. You're going to get oleic acid as well, which is omega-9, I believe it is, right? A specific type of fat that you get in there, monounsaturated fat, right? So avocado is an absolute superfood, right? But again, be mindful of calories. Avocado is very calorie dense. You have a large avocado, you're looking at 300 calories, right? So if you're someone who has to eat 1,500 calories or 2,000 calories to be in a deficit, then you have to weigh and track those foods. I wouldn't cut the avocado out, but you're probably not going to be able to eat anywhere near as much as me, is it, right? Dark chocolate I mentioned before, right? Now, this is not a high protein food and neither is avocado, but dark chocolate, I eat that because I enjoy it. Yeah, we can justify the antioxidants and polyphenols, blah, 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 whatever. You just enjoy eating it, admit it. But it does happen to be loaded with antioxidants, right? And magnesium as well. It's loaded with magnesium, although not as absorbable or bioavailable as you would get from, from animal-based foods, but there's actually more of it in dark chocolate per gram, I believe, of course. So 90% dark chocolate I eat. I probably eat that around about 3 times a week on average, and I eat that because I really enjoy it. And how I factor that in is sometimes I'll break my fast, right? Like I did this morning, not always. I broke my fast before my client calls with some dark chocolate and my black coffee, right? It's 90% though. It's low in sugar. It doesn't make me hungry after that. I'm fine for like 3 hours after that. Or I'll have the dark chocolate after my lunch meal. I break my fast normally at about like midday, so I'll have it after that meal, but I don't, it's caffeine, right? It contains caffeine in it, dark chocolate, so I don't like to have that generally past about 1 p.m. The next one, which I love, right, which is Greek yogurt. I have full fat most of the time, to be honest. I'm thinking of actually coming down to a low fat one because I found a really good quality low fat one, which is minimally processed here. But I have that. This is how I cycle it, right, with these foods. What I've started doing from last week only, since I got back from Indonesia, is I've started cutting sugar right down Monday to Thursday, right? So, for example, Monday to Thursday last week and this week, although it's only Wednesday, what I'm doing is I'm not having any Greek yogurt because my thing is I'm not really a moderator. When I have Greek yogurt, I don't just have the Greek yogurt. Obviously, I'll have it with berries, which would be fine, right? But I don't just have yogurt and berries. Whenever I have yogurt, I love the next food, which I'm going to name, which is the vanilla whey protein that I have. It's a natural one. It hasn't got any nasties in it. Vanilla whey protein mixed with that and berries. But then I don't just stop at berries. I like to have more sugar then. So then I'll have a banana. Sometimes I want an apple. Then I'll start adding a bit of honey sometimes or some peanut butter. So now I've just learned those behaviors for me. So I've been cutting that out Monday to Thursday, and then I allow myself to have the yogurts, full fat, with whey protein mixed in, the vanilla whey protein, and fruit, and a little bit of peanut butter on the weekends as well, right? And because I've been in a deficit all week from the way I'm currently eating now, because I'm eating low sugars in the week, which I'll get to, I can, if I wanted to be in a deficit, which I probably am now naturally, although I'm not thinking about that, it would be a lot easier, right? So I have those foods Friday, Saturday, Sunday now, the whey protein and the Greek yogurt. Berries is the next one. This is a superfood. This is also in my top 5 foods that I recommend to clients. Blueberries in particular, they contain antioxidants, of course. Raspberries and blueberries have a low glycemic index as well, right? Strawberries are great as well. They all contain a multitude of different vitamins, antioxidants, but berries, like for example, in 100 grams of blueberries, you're going to get about 3.6 grams of fiber to be precise. So having fiber is generally going to be good for most when you're trying to be in a deficit or get shredded or even stay shredded. So berries, I look at nutrients, but I also look at fiber and keeping satiated, right? And then white rice. So on the last episode, when I talked about the 10 foods, I had potato in there. I've taken that out because potato, for me and for a lot of people, doesn't work well for digestion. So I've just come to realize, as much as I love potato, it doesn't love me, right? So I have white rice, and most people do better with white rice as a carb source than they do potatoes. I've come to realize, me and my clients included, just for digestion. Yes, white rice is not going to have a great deal of nutrients in it, but it's also not going to have an abundance of anti-nutrients in it like brown rice. Now, brown rice contains so much phytates that actually it makes it less healthy than white rice. White rice is stripped of more nutrients, yes, but it's also stripped of the anti-nutrients. So it's very easy to digest for me. So in the week, I'll get to the carb backloading now, my next point. In the week, though, I have white rice in the evenings with my evening meal. Having low carbs messes with my sleep every time. I've already included this before. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole there. So I need to have some carbohydrates in the week because I sleep better. I don't wake up as much. And my aura proves this as well, right? So I have just white rice as a carb source. Only the last 2 weeks I've been doing this in the week, Monday to Thursday. That's my current kind of schedule. White rice in the evening as a carb source, nothing else. So the sugar I'm not having any fruit or anything in the week. It's just white rice for carbs, and that's it. Oh, yeah, a little bit of dark chocolate here and there, which got a tiny bit of carbohydrates in there, but not much. So that's another one of my the 10 foods that I eat to stay shredded. And also, when you look at like starchy carbs, like rice or potatoes, for example, it's essentially a great energy source. And when you look at non-starchy carbohydrates, like your greens, your zucchini, all those kind of things, they're going to be good to like for keeping you satiated, right? On top of having a high protein meal. If you have greens, for example, it's going to really help keep you satiated because it's high volume, high fiber. And also it can help balance out your blood sugar levels as well when you're having those non-starchy carbohydrates. The last but not least is my good old friend banana, right? I have that purely because I like the taste, right? Yes, it happens to have nutrients in it and stuff and a good amount of fiber, but it's also about 20 grams to 25 grams of sugar. 25 grams roughly of sugar in a banana, if I remember rightly. So I'm fully aware it has a lot of sugar in it as well, which is not all bad because I'm getting fiber, I'm getting potassium, I'm getting vitamin A, vitamin C. But I love the taste of that with my yogurt on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, am I going to stick to this thing forever, Monday to Thursday, what I'm doing now, and then Fridays? No, I'm not. But right now, it's an experiment. And even the level I'm at, my friend, I still like to experiment and improve. So by detaching from sugar in the week, it's really helping me stay focused. I'm in a deficit as a byproduct because I'm not eating as much. But digestion for me is fine with white rice. No issues whatsoever. Potatoes, nah. I had them once this week, actually, and farting all the time. And I just thought, man, you got to throw in the towel now. Plus, they happen to take a long time to prep as well when you put them in the oven and all the washing afterwards. So anyway, that's a bonus. So they're the 10 foods, right? We've got beef, eggs, Greek yogurt, sardines, avocado, dark chocolate, whey protein, berries, white rice, banana. So that was the first point, is anchoring every meal in with protein and looking at fiber as well in some of the foods that I mentioned there, but also looking at nutrient density, right? It's the first thing you got to look at. Just a quick one. I want to give you my brand new updated shred blueprint. This one has been upgraded to version 2.0. You're going to get it for free. It's got a nutrition game plan in there. It's got a new updated training plan in there, which has helped hundreds of people shred fat, and build muscle. And the nutrition roadmap in there is going to really just simplify everything for you. So you can melt fat real quick, lean it to the summer. And I've even put in there some bonus stuff in there in terms of mindset, right? So get this. Do not miss it, my friends. It's in the show notes. Just click the link and it's yours. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Number two is what I just touched on then is carb backloading. So what I've been doing as well, what I always do is I backload my carbs. So I only have 2 meals a day for the most part. And the first meal is really high protein and fats, virtually no carbohydrates, very low carbohydrates. Normally just beef. Oh, I have beef liver. Oh, damn, I didn't add that to my list. Okay, I'm going to add an 11th one in there, right? Beef liver. I have that about 4 or 5 times a week. So I'll probably have about 200 grams. I'll probably have about a kilo a week of beef liver. And obviously, one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat. And also, when it comes to adding that in, so I have that with my first meal, like I was just saying then. So I'll have beef liver. I have a whole egg, sometimes just egg yolks because I can't overdo the egg whites because they mess my gut up if I overdo it. Maybe I'll have avocado as well. I'll sometimes have avocado, sardines as well on top of the beef and stuff, and maybe the beef liver as well. And that's it for my first meal. I always use ghee oil to cook it in as well. So ghee oil is my go-to. Yes, I have beef tallow, but I rarely have it. I've got a fridge full of it, but I just love the taste of ghee oil, right? When you cook in that, it tastes way better. So, and also there is some good healthy properties in ghee oil, including, I can never pronounce the word, pyruvate acid. That's why Ayurveda use, the Ayurveda medicine, they use ghee oil because it has anti-inflammatory properties in it, right? So it's a powerhouse really in terms of and it doesn't. One of the main things is it doesn't turn into it doesn't oxidize when you cook it, right? Unlike olive oil. So anyway, going back to that carb backloading. So the first meal is always high protein, high fats. The last meal then is where I have my carbs. So I don't have carbs in the daytime for energy levels, sustained energy, and I like to look forward to a good carb hit in the evening, if I'm honest. So in the evening, Monday to Thursday, I'm having my white rice, like I said, with my steak, maybe avocado, olive oil. Sometimes I have some greens, but I don't really have a great deal of greens. Probably should have more, to be honest. And that's pretty much it for my evening meal, really. And I always feel satiated after it. I'll have literally right after this now, it's time to eat dinner. I'll cook up a nice steak. I'll have white rice. I'll add some olive oil. Yes, there's a lot of calories. So be mindful. You're not going to be able to add all these fats. Don't necessarily do what I do. I track food. If you haven't tracked food, you're not going to be aware of how many calories are in, like a tablespoon of olive oil is like 90 calories, right? So I'll add some olive oil to my rice, knowing the calories. I'll probably add some avocado again as well. Rice, avocado, olive oil, steak cooked in maybe a bit more ghee oil, right? And boom, happy days. I'm good. I'm nice. That's me for the day done, right? So carb backloading, and then that helps with my sleep as well. And this is tried and tested and measured using my Oura Ring. So number 3, right, is utilizing fats, number 1, to keep you satiated, but number 2, for energy and for brain clarity, mental clarity and brain function, right? Having the right type of fats and having enough fats and the right balance, which I'll get to now, and also hormone production as well. Remember, cholesterol is contained in fatty foods. It's a type of lipid, right? It's a type of fat that you're going to get in things like beef liver that I touched on. You're going to get in egg yolks and chicken liver, those kind of things. And it acts as a steroid hormone in the body, for example, cholesterol. So it is a noticeable difference in my testosterone levels or my sex drive when I eat more cholesterol. So when I have more beef liver, more egg yolks, more chicken liver. And I do that intentionally when I'm trying to build muscle like I'm doing now, or just get stronger. So I look at fats as the third point for hormone health, energy, and brain function. And on top of that, appetite, So that's what you got to look at with fats. So I mentioned avocado, eggs, I mentioned dark chocolate, right? These are all types of fats. And fats are really not the enemy, my friend, right? A lot of people, we have 2 camps. We have one camp where it's like, if you overeat fats, you're going to get fats. And then we have the other camp who are like, you got to eat 90% fat of your diet because I'm keto and carnivore, and you can't have carbs because carbs are the devil and they turn into sugar and cancer. Like, don't be so extreme. Don't be a donut. I'm just going to say it how it is, right? As we say in the UK, if you're a donut, you know what a donut is, right? You're just a donut. Don't be a donut. Don't be too extreme. If you're in your camp and it's working for you, right? Great, fantastic. But don't go too far over that side because you're earlier in your journey than myself, the likelihood is. And, just like Dr. Ted Nyman said, what's possible is not necessarily optimal for most. Eating carnivore, yeah, it's possible. Not necessarily optimal for most. So back to the fats. this is what I look at. So I add the fats to my meals. I mentioned avocado. I'm getting the fats that are contained in foods like an egg yolk or an egg. In my beef, my grass-fed beef, my ghee oil, which I'm adding, right? That's an added fat. That's not a contained fat. My sardines, that's loaded with omega-3s, right? So I'm not afraid of fats, right? And I've tracked long enough to know that fats are very calorie dense as well. So just because fats are very healthy and there's a lot of essential fats and omega-3s and all the stuff I mentioned, CLAs and blah, 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 you still got to know the calories roughly, right? I know if I go overboard, if I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil because I love it on my rice, I am calculating in my head that's 200 extra calories, right? A lot of people, the difference between losing weight and not losing weight is stop adding so much fat. It's quite simple, right? In a lot of cases, it's really not that complicated. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and they've gone, I've been stuck for ages and can't seem to lose fat, get to the next level. And then when we shine a light on things, they just simply weren't aware. After tracking for just a week so we can see the food diary, they weren't aware that they were having, over 1,000 calories in fats that they weren't even accounting for. They were just like, use the olive oil or the ghee oil to cook. But they weren't thinking of the calories in those things. They were just forgetting about those things. It's a normal thing to do. I get it. Or that odd little snack on nuts, right? You have like, forget about a handful of nuts. You have I don't know, you have like 10 almonds even, right? You're looking at like 200 calories even in 10 almonds. And most people are not even having 10, they're having a handful, which is more like 400 or 500 calories, right? So fats, yes, especially essential fats that we get in animal-based foods, right? In beef liver, in eggs, in salmon, in sardines. Yes, they're essential and we need them. You can get good types of fats as well, in avocado, olive oil, all those kind of things. We need essential fats. We die without them, and having a deficiency in certain types of fats would be nasty and horrendous. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. At the same time, they're very calorie dense and they will hold you back if you're looking to get to the next level and you're not aware of how much fat you're having. So number 4, last but I got 2 more points here, right? The other one then is gut health, right? I mentioned about white rice, and we got to look at foods that are going to really help our gut produce collagen and essentially build our gut and make it stronger, right? With certain types of proteins, collagen, right? But first of all, let's look at the gut real quick, right? There's like 20 different hormones, over 20 different hormones produced in the gut, right? Including GLP-1, which you've probably heard of, right? Or Ozempic. So this is a type of, this is a glucagon-like peptide, right? GLP-1. And that's a hormone which is naturally produced in the gut. And the reason why people are getting so much success, this is another podcast episode, right, with GLP-1s like Ozempic, is because they're actually pumping in a hormone which is produced in the gut, which is one of the key hormones, like similar to leptin. It just acts completely differently in terms of making you feel satiated and not craving any more food, right? So, and not to mention serotonin, 90 to 95%, my friend, of serotonin produced in the body is produced in the guts, right? Serotonin is critical for so many different things. Mood, how you feel day to day. When I have my carbs in the evening, I feel a bit calmer. It's a noticeable effect. Calm, serotonin helps with mood. Sex drive, key, right? Serotonin. When people take antidepressants, for example, right? It's SSRIs, right? Which are serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which again give you like a false amount of serotonin, basically, right? So not saying that everyone should or shouldn't do antidepressants or anything like that. That's not my wheelhouse. But 90 to 95% of the serotonin is produced in the gut. We got to take care of it, right? So when it comes to getting shredded, getting lean, if you're constantly getting gut issues and inflammation, you're on the back foot, my friend, right? You're not going to make progress. You're not going to be able to recover properly from training if you've got inflammation in the gut. There's so many different things. And just to give you some context, right? If you took all the bugs, we've got about bloody 39 trillion on average, right? Bacteria cells in our guts. If you were to take all the bugs out in your gut and put it on the scales, it would weigh around about 2 to 3 kilos, right? Which is about 8 to 10 pounds on the scales. Think about that. That's the bugs you've got inside your body. So this is just to kind of highlight how complex the gut is, right? So what we're going to look at is foods which are going to help support good gut health, right? More importantly, number 1 is foods that are going to irritate your gut. People ask me, if potatoes are healthy food, it's like, well, a good coach is going to say it depends. How do you find potatoes? Do you digest them well? Do you get any issues with stool or diarrhea, or how do you feel, after you've eaten potatoes? Great. No digestive issues. Great. Well, they're probably healthy for you then, right? But when it comes to the other person, like myself, I know if I eat potatoes, most of the time, even though I love them, I'll eat them every now and then, they irritate my gut, right? So we got to look at the foods first and foremost, and egg whites as well. I mentioned egg whites earlier. Today, I've been taking the piss a bit this week with egg whites, and I'm kind of getting away with it a little bit. But egg whites is up there with dairy, basically, in terms of intolerances, common intolerance. Egg whites contain a toxin called avidin, right? So if I overdo the egg whites, personally, I get a bit of bloating and gut issues. So I have egg yolks and I alternate between that and then whole eggs, right? So I'm aware of these things, and this is what keeps me lean and shredded because I'm aware of gut health, right? And I eat foods that support that. So eggs is great for collagen support as well, like I mentioned earlier, particularly an egg yolk. When you look at beef liver and beef, that's going to contain certain types amounts of collagen, which are going to help with guts. We got sardines as well. I mentioned earlier about the bones, right? Obviously calcium, and that's going to help with gut, skin, and those kind of things, right? So also collagen powder, right, which is what I take intermittently. There's a big kind of hype on this. They're overhyped, to be honest, collagen supplements. But there's one that I take, and I notice a difference when I take it in terms of my gut just feels healthier. My stool is better, right? And then we can have gut friendly foods, and like your fermented foods, right? Like your sauerkraut, your kefir, your kimchi, those kind of fermented foods, which can aid gut health. But you don't want to be adding in all these things if you're having issues with foods that you're eating. Number one is what foods are causing me issues with my gut. You got to look at that first. But then you want to look at getting some beef liver as well. That's another great thing with beef liver and animal organs in general, but particularly beef liver. Collagen, they can help your gut produce more collagen, these foods, right? Same as like beef as well, but not a great deal. More so animal organs. Greek yogurt as well. Obviously, you're going to get gut-friendly bacteria and stuff like that as well. And also, that's going to come in any dairy, right? If you're having milk as well, the same sort of thing. So gut is key. This is number 4, gut health, digestion. If that's not working in your favor, you're going to be on the back foot. You're not going to be able to stay shredded. Simple. Also, not to mention when you're eating certain foods like even artificial sweeteners, there's a artificial sweetener called sucralose, which they've done loads of research on now, which literally makes you way hungrier, long story short. And certain artificial sweeteners, they trick your brain into thinking you're getting sugar. So they're going to make you hungrier as well and have a massive impact on gut. So look, that's a whole different conversation, but I want to get to the 5th one now, right? The reason why I listed those 10 foods is because I actually enjoy them, right? And I didn't actually add coffee, right? This is 12 foods now, right? I'm going to add coffee to that list. Let's just wrap this up with 12 foods now. If I say beef liver as 11, coffee, I'm going to add that in as a food. I love coffee, right? Caffeine, the hit that I get in the morning, absolutely love it. It's my number one vice. I got my coffee cup here from earlier, right? And essentially, I love it. So the end, really. There's not much more to say on that. Caffeine, yes, there's some research to show it's good for performance. It increases strength by about 12%. They did a massive study, right, in the gym. So we can't deny that. Also, for mental health and stuff like that as well, caffeine can be helpful. Now, the only problem with caffeine is, coffee, sorry, should I say, is it's the most abused plant when it comes to pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. So get organic, right? Now, do I have organic all the time? When I make my own, yes, which is about 50% of the week. The other 50%, I grab a coffee from the coffee shop. Look, I know there might be mold, which is another thing, and pesticide, whatever. Like, I'm not going to die. I'm cool. I'm healthy most of the time, but just be mindful of that. So anyway, the 5th point was foods that I actually enjoy, like coffee, right? Like the whey protein and the Greek yogurts. Mix that with the fruits. Like, I don't want to be eating what I'm eating today, for example, like meats, avocado, eggs, meat, rice, day in, day out. I don't want to be doing that. I much prefer to eat Greek yogurt with the lovely tasting vanilla whey protein and fruits every now and then, right? I enjoy that. And some peanut butter as well, right? Throw that one in the mix. Although that's definitely not on my list. That's on my list of things to minimize, right? When you're trying to get shredded. So I can adhere to the way I'm eating very easy, right? Doesn't feel challenging for me anymore. And I got my metabolism firing at all cylinders because I lift weights, and I've been lifting weights for 20 years, but because I lift weights consistently, right? So that is the key for you getting shredded and staying lean. It's lifting weights, doing strength training consistently, right? And it's not a diet. The way I eat now, it's not a diet. It's not even animal based. It's not carnivore. It's not keto. It's just a lifestyle. The way I eat now is the way I live. And it feels easy. I nourish my body and I'm in great health. And that's what matters, right? And when it comes to staying lean, you've got to look at, if you feel like you're constantly battling and you feel like you're falling off on the weekends, like I used to, by the way, That is not going to get you shredded, and it's not going to keep you shredded, more importantly, or even get you lean and keep you lean when you've got those behaviors, right? It's just not going to do that. So it takes time. And look, with that, my friend, right? I've got a brand new shred formula plan, which I'm going to give you for free. Okay. And all I want you to do is click the link beneath and it's yours. It's a brand new one. It's not the same as the shred blueprint. I've actually updated it and created a new one. And it's going to tell you, it's going to give you basically nutrition game plan. It's going to give you a new training methods that I put in there, which are really, really effective. And it's giving you a whole program designed to get lean, stay lean, and do that in a way where it's healthy and you're not going to rebound. I've also contained in there mindset stuff as well. Very important stuff. When it comes to getting shredded, you're upgrading the way you think. If you don't change your mindset, you're not going to, the mindset's number one. If you don't change the way you think about certain things, you are not going to get to the next level, right? So definitely check that out. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Check out the next video you see here as well. This is dope relating to this current video, and it's going to take you down the same route in terms of giving you more detail and knowledge on this. Finally, if you like this episode, my friend, give me a like on YouTube or even give me a like on Spotify. Comment below on YouTube. I'd love to know if you've got any feedback. Really open to it and really appreciate your support.